Tuesday, the 3rd of November, 2020. In this Match Reaction 606 show, Matt, Nick, Tim and myself review what we've just watched, which was Blackpool 1, Wigan Athletic 0, as the Pool record back-to-back victories for the first time this season. I'm Jonas Braun, this is the Seasigners podcast. Match Reaction special, Blackpool 1, Wigan 0.
Ollie's already changed the world. A small town from the north of England with a great tradition.
Right, have you finished beeping, Tim?
My phone has been turned off.
Like R2D2.
Just to provide a bit of context, listeners, we were frantically sorting out our audio backstage just before we started, and Tim's making all sorts of bloody beeps, as Nick perfectly described him as there, R2D2. But yeah, welcome to everybody on the stream. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to everyone on YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope. Also, hello to everybody on the audio podcast, as this will be going out later. Please do make your comments as the show goes on. We will get to them as soon as possible. So let's just introduce everyone to start with. Tim is here. Hello, Tim.
Evening. And in my defence, I was putting the link on AVFTT. So
doing the marketing.
I was doing the marketing for the podcast. So I think I should be cut a little bit of slack.
Were you successful in putting the link on?
Just before I turn my phone off.
Very good. We'll let you off then. Good evening, Nick. How are you doing?
I'm very well, John, after that. It's nice to do these shows and not all be on our soapbox, isn't it?
It's good for getting people calling in, though, when we get beat. So, damn. I mean, yes, we've won anyway. Good evening, Matt.
Evening, John. How are we?
Very good. Yes, as Nick's just said, it's very pleasing to be coming on here after 3 points. Always makes your day better.
It is.
So, just before we get cracking, Matt, we've got a bit of a special segment just to do before we get going. Would you just like to regale the listeners, viewers, what it is? And
yes.
While you're doing that, I'll very, very quickly get this into my graphics program and try and spin it.
Okay. Right. So the nice people at Blackpool Supporters Trust held or are holding sort of a raffle, I guess, a football card. That's the one, so that a winner can have a signed shirt from one of the shirts that the BST sponsored last year, which I'm going off memory here. So it was Chris Maxwell, Ben Hennigan, Keenan Dewsbury Hall, and one or two others, James Husband and somebody else, can't think who. But there's a choice for the winner. They can have one of those shirts, and I'm not sure what's happening with the rest, whether they're going to go to the Armfield Club or something like that. I'm not quite sure. But I have a hat that we can draw names out of. I thought that was a good cliche.
This is the
FA Cup draw, this, isn't it?
It is. So
Not going to balls instead.
Well, yeah, I couldn't find enough really. There was a couple of tennis balls, and that was about all I had in my possession. So Francis from BST kindly dropped off what appears to be about, I think, 50 or 60 piece of paper in this hat now. So, John, have you got a card with the people's names on, or are we just going to leave that? Good man.
It's just uploading as we speak. Nothing like.
Look at that. That's professional.
That's really slow. Hang on, I'll get the banner off.
I was going to say that in 1999. That
was it? I thought it was just me then. It was like it's like going on the internet back in the day. I'll get rid of that so you can still see it.
So I don't have a glamorous assistant to help me or anything. So I'm literally just going to put my hand in this hat and draw a number out.
So just to clarify, Matt, the winner gets the choice of their shirt of choice from last season.
Yeah, I've just found the names now, actually. So it's Callum McDonald, Ben Hennigan, Chris Maxwell, James Husband, and Dewsbury Hall. So one of those is going to go for it. And basically, they've been raising funds for local sort of kids' football teams, I believe. So the money's going to go to help those out. And hopefully, despite this week's news, they'll be able to use it fairly soon.
All right.
Are they on about sponsoring the whole league, aren't they? Did I read that right in the last newsletter? I don't know whether this is linked to that or not, but that's a great effort. If so,
yeah, absolutely.
I've actually got a drum roll sound effects, man. Hang on, let's see if they still
Go
work.
on, go for it.
Right, as it ends, you pull it out and read. Are you ready?
Right. I'm ready. Poised.
And the winner is ball number or piece of paper.
Piece of paper number. You see that? Where is me? 56.
56.
56 is
Not Pauline.
Pauline.
There you go, Pauline.
Pauline O'Rourke with one entry and she's won it. So
There you go. Christine Green will be gutted, won't she?
yeah. Bloody hell, Christine. She went to town there, didn't she? Who else bought a load? Oh, she's got more there. Christine. Carl Bang brought he chipped a few in Kev off. Oh, that's Jeff Embry.
Yeah. All for a good cause, it would seem, which is the main thing. So there we go. So that's our civic duties done for the evening.
That's civic duty. So, yeah, I'm sure BST will be doing other draws like that. So there you go. Right, just before we kick off this show, chaps, there was a game we missed, Burton Albion, at the weekend, where we've run out 2-1 winners, but none of us saw it, did we? Because of various problems. I know, Tim, you were out buying a car. My iFollow was a disgrace, and none of us saw it, so we couldn't really do a show. So shall we just go around the room quickly and give our thoughts about that game? So I'll start with you, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, obviously saw the goals back afterwards. I actually came in at 4:30, but it wasn't really worth paying for iFollow at that stage. And IPTV was being its usual self. But I've seen Yates's goals back, and the first goal in particular is a great finish. It's what we've been waiting for, isn't it? And
from him, yeah,
and I think his reaction on Twitter that night with his comment about my team sort of probably I don't know how can I put it. It probably sort of reinforced that it's been troubling him, that, hasn't it? And he's been waiting to put something positive on, and he wanted to do it when he scored his first goal, and it's taken him longer than it should have done. But with that goal and his second, he's sort of put his marker down a bit. So that's great for him. So they can't comment too much about the game other than bear in mind what we're going to go on to discuss tonight. I don't think the fact that Dougal, whichever way you want to pronounce it, is I only say it because Bison's puts a message up every time I say Dougal.
Oh, sound a new French bloke then.
Well, the thing is, the only reason he's saying it is because he's played in Holland, and so he's going Dougal. But
Bison's in a good mood, by the way. Let's just bring that one up to start with. God, that was another turgid, hard game to watch. Not showing any improvements, but 3 points. He's a hard man to please, isn't he?
Very hard. But I'm going to stick with Dougal because he's from Australia. He's Australian, so there's no way he's going to pronounce it with that accent. But I don't think it was any. From what I heard from the feedback, it was any surprise that he was in the team, and that gave us perhaps a little bit different dimension in midfield. And we also saw, a different centre-back partnership, which seemed to work all right. We've kept clean sheets, haven't we? Which is important. So, pleasing that we got the 3 points. Gutted I missed watching it after watching all the turgid stuff that we've had. That we've been commenting on game after game.
You're paraphrasing Bison's there. He's having an influence on you.
Yeah. Well, I'm on about. He's on about tonight. I'm on about past games. I think.
But you nick his words, Tim. Come on, you're the wordsmith.
I know.
Right, moving on to you, Nick. It was good to get a win after, was it 22 games, something like that, away?
Yeah, and none of us thought it was going to come at Burton, did we? Remembering what our pre-match predictions were.
It was pretty negative.
Yeah, it was hard not to be, though. But, to be fair, I thought, Yates took in that first goal and was probably moment of the season for me. You could see what it meant to him, such a weight off his shoulders. It was great movement for it as well. It was, it was good passing and into play, and just the type of service he needs. And we saw what he's capable of. I thought the formation made a difference. Dougal made a difference. Dougal made a difference. No square pegs in round holes. Everybody did the job, and we showed a bit of character as well when it went to 1-1, and we kept plugging away and got the result. It wasn't a classic, but I don't think that matters at the moment. It's like with tonight, we're showing that we can grind out results, and I'd rather see that than 65% possession and not creating a chance barely in 90 minutes. I think we're adapting a bit more to what League One is about. Whether that's the Colin Calderwood effect or not, I don't know, but it was certainly pleasing to see the bits of the game that I saw. I had similar iFollow issues on Saturday, but we ground it out, so it was pleasing to see and great to see Yates getting off the mark as well.
Your issue, Nick, was just a blank screen. It just absolutely didn't work.
Yeah, it's in and out. It's weird. It's something to
it.
do with on Chrome, and I've tried on the Chromebook. I've tried other browsers, and yeah, it's in and out. Yeah. So,
but Matt, you were the member of this crew that saw most of the game. Would you just endorse what Nick's just said there? Ground out the win.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's important is that tonight's result and Saturday's result were against teams rather that are either below us or around us, and that's really important in the short term. And obviously, I think the win on Saturday in particular, you could see that it's given the lads a little bit more confidence, and they're just starting to hopefully just gel and knit a little bit tighter. It's not like watching Brazil or anything like that, obviously, but it's smaller forward steps and a little bit more progressive. The Burton game itself, I always thought we were pretty much in control. It was a bit of a shock when they did score. In fairness, again, just a lack of concentration at the back from one or two players. And unfortunate for Gretterson, because I thought for a guy who's never played on grass or hardly played on grass, he was one of the better players on Saturday, and we'll move on tonight. I thought he had another good sound game tonight, but overall it was deserved win, and good to see Yates score a couple and look like the player that we'd hoped he would be.
Mm.
What impact do we think Calderwood had coming in just before Saturday? Because we seem to have had a shape change, don't we, in both games? That where previously we stuck very doggedly to this 4-3-3, whether it suited the players we had available or not. And on here, we've been very, very critical of not playing to our strengths, I think, haven't we? And I think what we saw both on Saturday and again today is perhaps working with the best of what we've got. And I just wonder how much influence he's had on that, or whether Critchley himself has had his road to Damascus moment, his epiphany, that perhaps he needs to look at slightly different formations for different games and for different scenarios.
Yeah,
I'll just chip in just to start with what my two penneth is. I think they've obviously listened to everything we've been saying on this show and acted accordingly.
Yes, quite right too. The voices of reason.
So go on, Matt. You can have your sensible say now.
I was going to say exactly the same thing, John, as it happens. No, I don't know whether Saturday he would have had enough time to sort of have any influence, because I think it was it Friday when he was appointed. So whether he had any sort of influence or not prior to that. However, I would like to think, even if he didn't, that maybe Critchley's wising up a little bit, perhaps. Maybe he did have a word with him, and maybe he's quite receptive to different ideas, which is always good. And hopefully, I think it was a great appointment, irrespective. I think he's got a good track record of getting teams promoted, and I don't know whether he is, but he looks quite a bad cop to maybe Neil Critchley's good cop. And I think that's what's needed. And maybe with that off the pitch, and possibly Williams and Dougal in the middle of the park have brought a little bit of added snap and bite that we were lacking on the pitch as well.
Turn it into a magic roundabout, Nick.
Yeah, I wonder if it's maybe happened a bit by chance as well with the personnel who've been available with sendings off and injuries and stuff. But however it's come about, I think it's certainly benefited us, and we're looking, like you say, we're nowhere near the finished article, and there's plenty of room for improvement. But you can see the shape of the team, and that there's, they're making steps forward each game, which is all we were asking for, really, wasn't it? And
that's what I was laughing about before. Sorry, I was chuckling.
The podcast is shown in the dressing room straight after the game. Yeah,
thank you, Ben Eckerfull. That's a comment that's just come in.
Yeah.
Well, good for watching now. Well done, boys. Glad to see you've listened to our tactics. So I think we should be taking the credit.
Definitely. And I said we needed to bring in an experienced number 2. And I think 1 or 2 people said no, they wouldn't do it because it'd undermine him. But they obviously listened to what I was saying. So.
It's also he's just out of the mold of what we were talking about. We use the examples of I think Phil used the example of Morrison. I used the example of Brabin, and he's of that ilk, isn't he? Is a hard nosed defender who's going to put himself about a bit in that dressing room and on the sideline, and hopefully give us a little bit of steel and a little bit, just getting that good cop, bad cop that we spoke about before. Where Critchley can be the quiet, thoughtful manager, and he'll have somebody who can growl a bit on the sideline, which
and
is
he's Scottish as well. It always sounds more menacing, doesn't it, from a heavy Scottish accent? You call me a buffy. And on that note, let's go on to the game. Result and match stats. So I've just ran onto the old BBC website here. Move that up a bit. So shall I make it big so we can all see it? There we go.
Yeah, especially with my eyes.
So obviously we've won the game 1-0. Possession wise, it was 49 us, 51 then. 12 shots on goal to their 11. 6 of which were on target for us, 2 for them, 4 corners to their 5, 9 fouls to their 17. So, Matt, let's come to you first. A fairly even game, if you look at those statistics, and I'd say it's a game that could have gone either way. Perhaps we've had more shots on target, therefore we deserve to win.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty even. They had decent spells in the game. I think we had certainly the more clear-cut chances, which I'm sure we'll go on to. But if we were a bit more clinical, we probably could have at least, seen the game out a little bit more comfortably than what it was. But there was a spell in both halves where Wigan certainly, dominated with a small D. Really, we never really looked massively under pressure, and equally we had a few minutes spell after the second half started, which I thought was the best sort of 5 or 10 minutes of football that we probably played this year, bar probably the first 10 minutes at Plymouth or thereabouts. That certainly the very start of the season. So an even game, but I think we just about deserved it, and like I said, we definitely had a couple of very clear cut chances that if it had ended up 2 or 3-0, then that probably wouldn't have been undeserved either.
Do you mean this one?
There was that one, and then there was obviously the CJ Hamilton 10-yard blast over the bar, which was proper Sunday morning finishing.
I did a Smith with that, so we'll have to talk about that in a minute. And speaking of Smiths, let's move over to your counterpart to talk about the lineup. So Nick, I'll just bring up on the screen. Give us your thoughts on that starting lineup, and did you like it?
I think there was a couple of changes.
I'll just read this out for the purpose of everyone on the audio pod and everyone else out there listening. It was Maxwell, Gabriel, Ekpiteta, Gretson, Husband, Ward, Dougal, Hamilton, Kai, Yates, and Medine. Sorry, Nick, away you go.
Yeah, so obviously Gabriel coming in for Turton and Grant Ward in for Williams. So maybe a little bit surprising, but then at the same time, they both played a lot of football, haven't they? And it's Saturday, Tuesday at the moment. So maybe not too surprising that he was mixing things up a little bit. And I thought, like similar to Matt, the game ebbed and flowed. Those notes that I sent through to you that I was making as the game went on, it was kind of like chance for Blackpool and we'd have a 5-minute spell, chance for Wigan, they'd have a 5-minute spell. It swung back and forth, but overall, I do think we deserved it.
But focusing on the lineup, start for Gabriel coming in at right back, and I thought he did quite well. I thought he did a decent job.
Yeah, I thought as the game went on, he did okay. Obviously, he'd had a very shaky debut, shall we say? I think was it against Ipswich, where you'd say he was at fault for probably 2 of the 4 goals. But he looked more steady tonight, and hopefully he'll be an asset for us. I think he's probably got a bit more going forward than Turton has, and maybe Turton's maybe a bit more solid defensively. But it's good to have options, isn't it? And I thought he did okay as the game went on. Maybe not as much Grant Ward. I think Williams probably puts himself about a bit more, and I think he'd looked good with Dougal in the games they'd played together. But yeah, other than that, it was everybody in the right position. Good to see Yates and Medine both playing together, because I don't know if you saw the comments either yesterday or the day before from Neil Critchley, where Matt Scrafton had talked about them playing together, and he said, yeah, they did well, but it doesn't mean they're going to play together every match. And I just thought, are we going to have 5 or 6 changes? Thankfully, we didn't, and I thought they both did very well again. Tim,
you're chuckling at something there. You want to share it with the rest of the class?
It was the comment from Simon Muggleton, and I don't know if anybody else picked it up, but Ian Chisnell was eulogising about Joe Garner.
There we go.
Particularly in the first half, and he never stopped. He must have been praising him about 7 or 8 times.
He's an ex-nobber, isn't he, as well? Is that ex-nobber, isn't he?
So I was just having a chuckle because we were having a little side swipe about the number of times he got mentioned, along with that great Lancashire hot pot game.
He was
against Charlton,
as ever, wasn't he? There was one time when it went out for a corner for us, and he's like saying it's a throw into Blackpool. I was like, no, it's not. It's a corner. What are you on about?
So no, that's what I was just looking down the comments while you were chatting, and it just made me chuckle.
Right, back on course. Tim, just looking down the lineup there, just your thoughts briefly on that starting 11.
Yeah, it's probably not. I mean, I think what we're seeing this season, and probably the biggest surprise is perhaps Turton not starting, and again, perhaps less controversial Williams not starting. Is going to be a squad game this season, with as Nick alluded to, with games coming twice a week, which
Williams not even on the bench.
He'll just be resting him. He'll be saying have a midweek game off, and because as much as we say, you can play as much as you want, it's not about whether you can play. It's how you play when you're playing too often sometimes, maybe. And I just think he wants to freshen it up. Maybe he's got a knock. Maybe he's...
I think if you look on the comments, Tim, Chris Harrison said apparently he was injured, Williams.
All right, okay. Well, that explains it then. But I do think that we have seen already, haven't we, a little bit of rotation. I was thinking about, what we're going to do when Ballard comes back, but the reality is there'll still be that rotation required. I think, if you can have cover in every position and almost certainly 3 players sharing 2 positions, it allows you to keep the team as fresh as it can be, particularly in what's, it's a truncated season this year, isn't it? And teams and players and managers aren't used to the games coming. Now we aren't, are we? I mean, it's almost like a conveyor belt at the moment, and so we are going to need this bigger squad. It's almost like you got with the top Premiership sides, isn't it? Where they've got every 2 squads to play because they're playing in Europe every week, and we're playing league games every single week. And I think I think when I looked at that team, I thought there's a bit of rotation going on there. So I didn't realise Williams was injured, and it didn't surprise me. I think, on balance, we did right to stick with playing Yates and Medine. They seem probably, based on what we've seen so far, I know we're not scoring lots of goals, but they do seem our most potent 2 as a combination, and that's encouraging, isn't it? That we've got 2 players who are at least. I thought Yates was a lot quieter today, particularly in the first half. I think he came back more into it to the second. But players are always going to be in and out of games. But the fact that they seem to be having at least a little bit of a connection and bringing the best out of each other it's that combination that's probably eluded us all season.
Yeah.
Because we've been playing this 4-3-3, and the way not quite suited. I mean, whether there's different arguments about whether Medin's up top and whether Yates is behind with the other two, but I don't think it really matters. The reality is we've got two strikers playing down the middle.
No more square pegs in goals. Sorry, Matt, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Medin's quite. I mean, he's first, he's second, he's third, he's fourth. He's about his fifth touch. He's pretty bad. But what he does, he occupies the centre halves, doesn't he? So therefore, he can give a little bit of extra sort of time, space, room, whatever, to Yates and others for that matter. So he's a bit of our battering ram, I guess, isn't he? Really, he's not going to be the one that's going to be making the runs down the flanks or anything like that. He's just going to concentrate all the effort in the middle of the park, generally speaking. And I think it's just starting to sort of open up a little bit more potential opportunities for us in terms of getting more players in the box when we're getting Hamilton forward or Kai or whoever, because he's there already. I don't know whether it's the start of a beautiful relationship between the pair of them or anybody else for that matter, but I think there's definitely an improvement on what we've seen in the last couple of games from the previous 7 or 8, that's for sure.
Right, let's move on to the game itself then. The first half. Pull the thingy up. There it is. The first half. Nick, over to you. Not packed with incidents and seemed to go pretty quick for me.
Yeah, I'm just. I don't know if you've got the notes that I sent through to you. There was wasn't loads of chances. I think the first one was Medin had a header on about 6 minutes, wasn't it? It was knocked away by the Wigan keeper. It was a decent ball in. I can't remember whether it was Gabriel who knocked it in or CJ, but whipped in and he had a header. I think there was beyond that, can't remember too much. It seemed to not quite end to end, but we'd have 5 minutes, they'd have 5 minutes. I think their finishing, they'd blazed a couple with a bit more composure. They could have maybe got one, but overall, I thought we probably deserved to be ahead at half time. Like Matt was just talking about, I thought Gary Medin held it up very well. He won nearly all of his headers. Sometimes after that, you get maybe a bit frustrated, but I certainly thought we did well holding it up, and it allowed Yates to get into a bit of space again. And yeah, probably deserved to be ahead at half time, I would say.
Matt, were you going to say something then? You looked like you were going to.
I was just going to say that obviously that Hamilton blaze over the bar was was an obvious thing in the first half. So, I mean, that would have obviously given us the lead, and it was such a bad miss. I mean, he literally had nothing to do other than just hit the target, because I think there was a defender on his backside. The keeper was already committed. And it was just, a horrendous miss from a player who isn't obviously a natural goal scorer.
That ball had the same trajectory as Russell Coughlin's penalty at Bolton in the late 80s.
Yeah, but the park. It did, yeah. So it was frustrating, very frustrating.
Wigan hit the post as well, didn't they? Just before half time. The young lad, I think Joseph was making his debut, twisted and turned, and it just hit the outside of the post.
Did that hit the post? I thought it went just wide.
Yeah,
no, I think it just
hit the foot of the. Okay. Yeah, I mean it was always obviously the wrong side. Yeah.
But apart from that, I was reasonably pleased to go in at 0-0. Given the passage of play, I thought, it was reasonably tight. We didn't give a lot away. So, Tim, we went into the second half. And what a start with Kai goal on 47 minutes. And I almost did a Smith with that as well. Just saw it, yeah.
I think the pleasing thing just generally is the fact that we're getting more shots off under this system than we seem to be doing previously, where we've been very critical of the of what we do in and around the box, haven't we? About how few chances we have and how few times we hit the target. And what Kai has a tendency to do is actually to hit the target when he's got the opportunities. And I think there's some good work down the right, a good crossing from Yates, as I recall rightly, across to him. And And it probably wasn't the cleanest finish you're ever going to see, but he's hit the target, and that's how you score goals, not by pussyfooting around or by hitting it wide or not getting your shot off. He hit it. I vaguely remember it went sort of under a defender, and then keeper didn't see it probably till quite late, and it's the back of the net. So job's a good one. That's what we want, isn't it?
Famous saying, Tim, that you say, hit the target.
Hit the target.
Hit the target. You hit the target at 5-side last night, didn't you?
I did a few times.
Yeah,
nearly as many as Brad.
Just going back to what I said earlier about it, we had plenty of bodies in the box in that particular move, and I'm not sure whether Yates was actually trying to pick out Hamilton and it came to Kai, but irrespective, the fact is that there was 2 more bodies in the box than there was 3 weeks ago. So they've obviously worked on something which I think is really encouraging, and I think that second half, the start of the second half, showed again a lot more encouragement in terms of what we could do if everything clicked for a longer period of time, because I thought that first few minutes showed how good Yates can be and how Kai can obviously finish, albeit keeper might have been a bit dubious on that one, and it was a good positive start to the second half, obviously.
Over to you, Nicholas. Your thoughts on Kai's goal?
Yeah, I'd echo what Tim had said in that he's in the box and he's the right place at the right time, which we haven't had a lot in previous games. And we came out of the traps flying in that first 10 minutes of the second half. Great work from Yates. Drilled it across, and it wasn't the sweetest shot, but you hit the target and you've got a chance. And that's what he brings for us. I think, going back to Hamilton, all the pace in the world, but I think if that had been him in that position, he may have pondered and ended up losing possession. Whereas with Kai, he will get a shot off, similar to his goal against MK Dons, really. So he
had a very good game, didn't he? Generally, he had a decent game tonight, Kai.
And he can go a bit quiet at times, but then when he's on it, the stuff he does makes a difference. So I think you can live with the times when he maybe goes a little bit quiet because of what he does when he's when he's on it. So definitely makes a difference. And there's a couple of chances after that where we were getting forward and getting good balls into the box. Then it did swing the other way, and then I think about 54 minutes there was a great chance for Wigan. Gretterson on probably rare occasion where he made a bit of a mistake. It was a poor clearance and it went to that lad Joseph again, and
he's got the whole target. He's got the whole goal to hit, hasn't he, as a target? And luckily he's put it down Maxwell's throat. Yeah,
gave him a chance to make the save, and probably shouldn't have done, really. It was it was a very good chance for them to equalise, but thankfully they didn't. And then I think,
let's bring this up.
10 minutes after that, we had our big chance with Gary Medine, and again should have scored, really.
He wasn't very positive, was he? He's got the ball down and he's taking too many touches. He's a bit slow. He should have just put his foot, put his laces.
I think you see, I think you see the difference there between what Kai's done, just firing his shot off, and Medine's maybe just taken a second too long.
Can I speak in defence of Gary Goals here, please? He had his back. The ball was behind him.
Where you go.
The ball was behind him. To be fair, just going back, I thought the ball. I think it was Dougal. I'm refusing to give the alternative version of the pronunciation from here on in. So puts the ball out to left, doesn't it? I thought the first touch from Kai was superb. That just took it away from his man. But I thought when the ball came in, it was behind him. There's no way he could get his shot off straight away. And I actually thought he did quite well. Turned, got the shot off, and it was actually a very, very good save from the keeper, right on the line. So that's my plea of mitigation in favour of Mr. Medine.
Plea of mitigation. He's like fresh from the courtroom, Tim.
So
Matt, do you think it was a sitter? It's causing a bit of a conversation on the comments.
Well, as far as I mean, if
not a sitter per se, but it was a very good chance, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a striker who's getting paid what he is, quite frankly, you should have put the ball in the back of the net. Being hyper sort of critical about him, but that was, I'll go back to my comment earlier about his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touches, and that's what he is. He doesn't seem to be a sort of a natural swinger of a boot in the right area. It seems he's very sort of clunky as a centre forward. So he should have scored. Simple as that, really. Whether the ball was behind him or not, he had the 6 yards out or whatever it was. It's just got to happen in my book, basically. My lord.
On to the next chance of the game. Mr. Gretterson up on the was it a set piece? Floated over to the back post, and he's put it back where it's come from. A great header. I thought it was going to drop into the far corner of the net and just wide.
Yeah, a bit Richard Walker-esque, wasn't it? Again, great delivery from Kai, and that's, tonight we've talked previously, haven't we, about the lack of delivery into the box and the waste that we've had on set pieces. And again, it's something we seem to have turned a corner on. Another thing they've obviously been listening to us about. But there was, there was great delivery into the box, and that one in particular. Found him free at the back post, and he did the right thing, I think, in trying to put it back across to the far post, and unfortunately it just dropped the wrong side of the post. But yeah, certainly a good chance.
Tim, your thoughts on Mr. Gretterson's chance and his performance in general?
I don't think he could have done much better with that chance, really. I think on another day it could have gone in, or somebody would have come in on the back post and knocked it over the line. So quite pleased. I mean, I think it was actually a lot closer than it looked from the angle that because obviously we're only seeing the one angle, aren't we? And if you're watching, I know the Premier League fans moan like mad about paying 15 quid, but at least they're getting a few different camera angles and
at least
proper coverage. So we just see it from that one angle. And from the comments that were coming from Brett and from Ian Chisnell, it sounded, I think they thought it was close, very, very close. And I think it actually was. I think it was a whisker wide. So I don't think you can criticise the way he approached it. I think it's encouraging that somebody's prepared to attack the ball like that and actually put a bit of direction on it, as well as, sort of generally putting it back in the area, hit it with pace, hit it with a reasonable amount of accuracy. So, and it was a good ball in for me. It wasn't the greatest of angles, I think if he'd been a bit more over towards the goal, I think he'd have had a better chance of scoring, but it was quite a tight angle. So he's only able to see probably 20-30% of the goal face when he's hitting the ball anyway. So, no criticism from me.
Finally, we had a substitution. Labala on for the last 5 minutes. Came on for Jerry Yates. Just put himself about ever so slightly. But, gents, just the second half in general, it ebbed and flowed. And we had a spell where I thought we were going to get a second and go on and win the game, but then they came back into it. So, just to summarise the game, a good hard-fought point, I think, and it's a good platform to build on.
3 points.
Sorry.
But yeah, I'd agree. Other than that, I'd agree. Yeah. As we said earlier, we need to have a bit of nous about us and learn to grind out results. I think probably 4 or 5 games ago, we would have maybe got a point or even got beat. So I think we've hopefully turned the corner in that respect. And if we keep improving slightly each game, then we'll continue to climb the table. I think we've got to factor in that Burton and Wigan are both down there, so I think there will be tougher tests to come quite shortly, I think, from remembering the fixture list. But we're going into it in a good place, having picked up points, and I think that's as much as we can ask for. It's still a team that are learning, and there's improvements to be made, but look who's got to come back as well. He's going to have some interesting choices to make around selection, because the likes of Robson, Virtue to come back. But could you really, could you drop Dougal? Could you drop Williams? I know he didn't play tonight, but I think they both, done enough to cement the place for the time being, and you'd expect Ballard to come back in, I would say, but I think Grettison's done well as well. So it's going to be nice to have those options, isn't it?
So, listeners, do get your comments coming in. Give us your thoughts on the game. Just a quick summary. Firstly, we've got Sean P. Sean said, good win tonight, starting to grind the results out, and the defence did well. We'll kick on from here, and confidence is starting to grow. Steve H. said, I feel Dougal is making a big difference. 3 wins in 4. It isn't spectacular, but it feels like the tide is turning. 3 wins in 4. Is that right?
Yeah, and
two wins in 3.
What have we had? MK Dons, Burton, and tonight.
Oh, he's right. McBeardall, I thought Medina almost every header in right. Yeah, it's got 2.
I know I was slating Medina earlier, but he's good at what he does. I appreciate that. He's just not sort of like I don't know. He's nowhere near a finished sort of article type of player, is he? Otherwise, he wouldn't be playing for us.
To hold the ball up and
yeah, exactly.
John Scott, John says 3 wins out of 4. The 4th was a weird one with 2 senders after, yet we still battered them. Not actually playing as well. Gaining confidence, top half. Where are the Critchley out idiots now? Strong word, John. Strong word.
Right. I think it's funny. Sorry, John. I'll just chip in. I think we were all pretty much in. I think we were all pretty much in unison that we all thought that Critchley deserves a little bit more time, because there were a few people getting very sort of trigger happy, as it were, a couple of 3 games ago. And hopefully with Colin Calderwood coming in now, and more players getting fitter and learning to sort of play with each other, hopefully, these few wins will be a bit more confidence. And if we can get a good win on Sunday in the Cup, then that'll help us even more. So yeah, hopefully so.
All right, let's just go to. We've got a couple of calls waiting in the wings. I was just about to bring in Link Wilson. He's been sat there for a while. I said, "Sit tight, mate. We'll bring you on." I'm just about to bring you in, Mr. Link, and you've just disappeared. So we've got Ed on the line. Hi, Ed. How's it going? What did you think about that? And what have you got to say?
Hiya, boys. You all right?
Evening.
Yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah. Cheers for having us on. I'm a friend of the show now, aren't I? Yeah, second appearance. Does that get you that status?
Do we have T-shirts or anything?
Yeah, I got my name printed on it anyway. But no. Do you know what? I said about Critch, give him till after the Wigan game. I think was that after your Wimbledon pod. We got 2 wins, right? And in the Burton game, lot of positives. Good forward play, runners, through balls, shots on target. Tonight it was a bit of the same. First half was all right, and then obviously just after half time with the goal, and then I don't know what it is. We just died. And you play like that last sort of like 30, 40 minutes against Peterborough, Sunderland, anyone pretty much apart from Wigan, you're gonna get destroyed. There's positives in both performances. Cause I criticised him last time I was on here, and rightly so, I think. So praise him because he's changed the formation probably just in the nick of time. Players are getting a bit more out of it now. Medine, Yates look like different players. Ward looked half decent tonight. Dougal is I think it could be like I know you guys said it, but I said it as well that there was no spine build, there was no leader, was there, at the start of the season? And I think we might have found it in Dougal. I think he's barking orders out to people. He's pushing. Was it Marv away from getting into a scrap and getting a yellow card in the second half? I think it was. So I think he's got something about it. I just keep coming back to the fact that is this better than what we had with Grayson? I don't think it is. I think these 2 wins have brought Critch to January 1st. I'm not confident the performances are going to get better, and I think it'll be cheerio. But I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know what you boys think. That's just how I've seen it. I've dipped in and out of the pod tonight, but I probably might have said some similar things. But yeah, 6 points is 6 points. Don't sniff it. But let's just remember it was Burton. and Wigan. Wigan are the basket case of the club of the league this year. But you take
It's
the
nice,
6 points.
it's nice to not be that basket case of a club, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It is actually, but and it's Wigan as well, isn't it?
So
Ed's
Ed's coming to put us back down to earth, gents, a bit. So does anyone want to come in on this?
Sorry, if you had a really positive pod.
No, I think you say right, Ed, in that. I think you're right, Ed, in that we've got to put this into context. You know, we've played 2 teams right at the bottom of the league, and 2 teams who I think will be right at the bottom of the league at the end of the season. And we spoke on not last Saturday when we did the last pod. We mentioned the games we've got coming up, and once we've got Eastbourne out of the way, we've got a series of fixtures that see us play pretty much everybody at the top. And I'm not convinced the performances like tonight will see us through those games, to be honest. So I think you're right. I think it's great 6 points. We spoke beforehand about needing to get some points on the board against these bottom sides, and we have. I think we're up to 12th, which gives us a little bit of breathing space. But my concern is that we're going to be back down to about 18th or 19th unless we see everybody step the game up. I think Ballard will improve us. I think Robson and/or Williams in that midfield alongside Dougal will improve us. I think he's a big positive. And I think the playing front 2 are positives, but we've still very much a work in progress. And we haven't got, I think, for me, the match winners that we had last year. Not enough of them, anyway.
I think, as Nick said earlier, we've got a lot of players to come back. Isn't that right, Nick? Do you think we can use this as a base to build and hopefully go on to improve, as Ed suggested there? I think the point is valid.
Yeah, it's absolutely a valid point, and I think, but also we've improved in the last couple of games, so that is something to build on. It's by no means, we're all the way there. We know that, and these next few games are going to be a real test. I think if we can get through those with, either a draw in each of them, or certainly an improved performance, then maybe we truly have turned a corner. It's maybe a bit too early to judge at the moment when you're playing the likes of Wigan and Burton. No disrespect to them, but and similarly, we'll see how we go on Sunday in the cup. But it's certainly going to be a tough test. But we have got players to come back. I think Dougal's only going to get better. Decent stint tonight after Saturday, so he's going to get fitter and improve. But like you've said, Tim, Ballard to come back in certainly gives us a bit of spine at the back. And I think, Medina and Yates are starting to form a little bit of a partnership. So there's positive there, but there's still a way to go, and we'll see how far we've come over these next 3 games, I suppose.
Matt, have you got anything to say to respond to Ed?
Well, nothing that already hasn't been said, to be honest. I think it will obviously be interesting to see what happens in the next few games. I think that will probably be more of a yardstick in terms of where we are for the rest of the season. Obviously, we hope that results will go in our favour. But I was watching, and I know you can't get all the sort of the strengths and weaknesses of a side after watching a bit of EFL Quest or whatever it's called on Saturday night. But when you saw how Peterborough smashed in 5 and a few other teams were looking really, really useful, you just think we're a mile off that at the moment. But you just hope we can sort of stick in there and just keep going, really. We've got a little bit of momentum now, I suppose, with a small M, but we've just got to, hope that we can get through Sunday unscathed, no silly bookings and suspensions and injuries, and then try and get some points out of what are inevitably and undoubtedly very, very difficult games ahead of us. And you only need a good result against one of those so-called better sides. And again, it's all about confidence, isn't it? I mean, we've seen since Saturday to certainly the second half tonight, Jerry Yates just looks like a different player. So if other players can step up and provide a little bit more sort of confidence, then it sort of, it's like a domino effect, isn't it? You get a few decent performances out of players rather, and it sort of spreads throughout the team, really. So I think we've just got to enjoy it while we can. But I get entirely that we could all be moaning and groaning in middle of middle of December or whatever.
Okay, thanks a lot for your call, Ed. Some very interesting points you've raised there. Do call again. Okay. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Ed.
Cheers. Bye. Sorry, I'd had to cut you off because we were getting a lot of feedback from your call as well. But yeah, thanks for your call. If anyone does want to call in just before we go, you go to spod, www.spod.live, and we'll bring you in on the call. Right, what have we got left to cover? Man of the match, gents. Go on, Nick. What were you going to say then, Nick? You were going to say
quickly,
something.
I was going to look at Phil Hornby's comment. It says, if you're not sure how to pronounce a player's name, you should Google it. Brilliant. I think we'll just call him Magic Roundabout from now on.
Yeah.
Just call him Zebedee.
Yeah.
We should get him on and say, how do we pronounce your name, Mr. Dougal?
Well, he's half Scottish and half Australian, so I think it's pretty clear it's Dougal, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we're just having a laugh, Phil, with Bisons.
Bisons is very negative, isn't he?
He's not so much glass half empty as he's knocked the glass over. It's rolled off the table, smashed on the floor, and he's stood on it and sliced his foot.
Clutching at Straws podcast, new name, boys. Come on, Bisons, it's 3 and 4. Come on.
You've still not phoned in.
Right, where were we? Man of the match. So I think we've actually got some genuine contenders for this match for once. You know, we've poured scorn on this previously, haven't we? The actual fact that we've got to name a man of the match. So it's a reasonable problem to have. So, Tim, what's your thoughts?
I'm troubled. I've got 3.
Blimey.
Probably get. Well, no, 3 choices, but I actually think Medine played quite well tonight. I don't know whether he quite deserved man of the match, but I thought he was effective up front. I thought Gabriel did quite well at right back. I thought he pushed forward well, but I'm going to go with Dougal, whatever we're going to call him, Dougal. I think the point.
Joke, this.
I think the point that Ed made earlier, I think, you know, we're looking for a few captains on the pitch. I think Ballard's shown he's got the ability to lead, and I think he's showing it as well. And I thought just generally, he just seems calm on the ball and plays a simple ball. He doesn't try to do Hollywood passes. He doesn't, not say he never gives possession away, but he doesn't give possession away a lot. And I think it's just the type of player we've been looking for. And it's just the type of player we kept hoping that he would be, because we've got the deficiencies that we've seen during the course of the season. So I'm going to give it to him.
I just wanted to bring that comment up from Darren Humphries. 2 big wins with Ballard out. It's a good point. You know, Ballard being, although he's only just started for, he's our best defender, and it's done without him. We've only conceded 1 goal. So, yeah, good point there, Daz. This one's quite funny. May Mac. Due goal was mom for me. I think that would have been funny, Mr. Mac, if he'd have actually scored. But yeah, I like it. Matt, over to you, man of the match.
Yeah, I have a couple of 3 players as well as it happens. I think Gabriel played really well tonight, considering, you know, he had a bit of a stinker in his debut against Ipswich, I think it was. He looks a lot more comfortable, albeit, as we've mentioned before, with respect against Wigan. I think apart from that one unfortunate error, again, I thought Gretson played really well again tonight. I think he's been sort of, I wouldn't say unsung, but when you think of how inexperienced those are as a centre-half partnership, him and Marvin, I think he's done really well the last couple of games. Again, with respect to Burton and Wigan, they're not, you know, Portsmouth and Peterborough, something like that. So he did well, but I think Dougal played really well. So he wasn't a standout performer, but I think he's going to win more MOMs throughout the season, just for being your sort of 7 or 8 out of 10 performer most weeks. It looks like, hopefully.
Nick, over to you. Any of your thoughts on the mom?
Yeah, similar to what Tim said. You know, there's a few contenders there. I thought, you know, although he missed his chance, Gary Medine led the line well, held the ball up, which allows other people to get into the game and create chances. Kaikai's delivery was great. Gabriel was certainly improved on his first game for us. I thought he did well and got some good delivery into the box as well. But same as the other guys, I'm going to go with Magic Roundabout because he just, I think he makes such a difference in the middle of the park. You don't see him making mistakes. He makes it look easy. He's looking to be a bit of a leader as well, which is something we've been really, really missing prior to him playing. So, it's not spectacular, but he does everything well and it makes a real difference to us. And so, yeah, he was my man of the match.
I'm torn between Kaikai, Dougal, and this may surprise you, but I thought Ekpiteta had a decent game today. But there was one opportunity when he got turned. But that aside, I think he's growing into the game, and I've given him a bit of stick on it, but I thought he was pretty solid tonight and put a lot of decent last-ditch challenges in and was quite commanding. So I'm going to give it to Ekpiteta. Potato. Right, we've got one last call just before we head off. It's Lee. Hiya, Lee.
Evening,
How you
boys.
doing?
How you doing?
I'm all right. Hope you're all
Nice
well.
shirt.
Found it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's all right, actually. It's quite a nice third kit, this one. It's I've worn it for 2 home games watching how I follow, and we've had 2 wins.
Lucky
so
kit, Lee.
it won't be getting washed.
Don't wash it.
No, that's it.
Right, Lee, we were
it.
just on the man of the match segment. But what particularly do you want to talk about tonight?
Well, number one, Nick's just stole my thunder because I was going to go for the Magic Roundabout pun as well, but he's just nicked that. So
I think he did come up with that first, so he's got a copyright on that.
Oh, I got it. But yeah, I think Dougal's certainly brought some stability to midfield, which is obviously what we've needed. But yeah, I know 2 scrappy performances really, sort of tonight and Saturday. But I think we needed that. It's bottom of the table teams. We needed 6 points out of these games just to take the pressure off Critch really and sort of push us on. Again, I echo what you said about Medina as well. I think he's sort of come on leaps and bounds the last couple of games, just really holding play up well. I think the forward 2 are linking together a lot better in this new formation. I just think they're a bit closer to each other. They're not miles apart. So I just
Yeah, I mean Yates is a different player when he's got Medina up with him, isn't he? He's
absolutely, and you can see Yates' confidence in his touch and his his ability tonight from getting those couple of goals. There's no there's no ignoring his quality. He's definitely got it in his locker. I just think he's just really lacked some confidence. So hopefully we'll see that come to the fore. Concern for me, and again, I think it's like what you boys have said as well. Looking at the fixtures throughout the rest of November is pretty frightening. And you sort of look at us at the back sometimes tonight. Certainly that last 10 minutes, that some better teams will put us to the sword, and that does worry me a little. But like I said, we've got some good. We've got a couple of players on the way back into the team, and I think if we get one positive result out of these next few fixtures, it could actually make our season. Yeah, I was getting a little bit itchy feet with Critchley, I ain't going to lie, and those people that know me and read my newsfeed and stuff like that obviously know what I'm like, pretty hot-headed. I think this has bought him a bit of time. I think that's coming over the last 7 days has been a master stroke, really. I think that will just bring that experience we need in the back room and hopefully see us through. A long old season ahead. I'd like to think if we get a positive or a couple of positive results over the next few months, then over the next few games, you never know what the next few months are going to take us.
Anyone like to come in on this?
Yeah, I think it's kind of echoes what we said, doesn't it? If we can get a couple of decent results over these next few games, it'll hopefully see us on towards Christmas, and we'll maybe see the Calderwood effect start to have an impact over these games. Now he's been here for a couple of days, so yeah, I think I'd agree with most of what Lee said there. I think we'd probably, we were more in the camp of giving Critchley a bit of time, weren't we? Well, certainly I'd said at least until Christmas. We've had those 2 good results, but it does need to continue, or I think the pressure will potentially be back on.
I think the acid test is these tough games that we've got coming up, and I think that's really when we're going to see what this team's made of, and hopefully we've got some of these key players to come back and assist with that. So, Matt, were you just about to sound off?
I was just going to sort of be a bit optimistic, perhaps. And I don't know, it's always sort of been a Blackpool thing, as far as I can remember, that when we do play against better teams, so-called better teams, we do seem to sort of step it up. Now, whether this team is sort of too much...
He's just said exactly what you're saying there.
Oh, there you go. So it's like whether this team's sort of too much in its infancy to do that yet. I'm not sure. Obviously, time will tell. But, you hark back to the pre-season friendlies against obviously better teams in Everton and Liverpool, and we played decent stuff. So maybe against better footballing teams, if that's what these ones that are currently towards the top of the table are, then we might surprise ourselves. However, if they're a bit more, how can I say, sort of a bit rough and ready. I mean, Ipswich were I thought they were quite a physical side, and they sort of bullied us around a bit. If they're like that, then we're going to struggle. We might have a little bit better chance because we've got a couple of extra players in now that we didn't have then. But you never know. We might surprise ourselves and get some valuable points, hopefully.
Speaking of points, let's just have a quick look at the league table before we go. Thanks for your call anyway, Lee. I'll just boot you off now.
No worries.
Okay, boys. Nice to see you anyway, mate. Cheers, bye. So the league table, let me just get rid of that comment there. Come on, mouse, click. Oh, there we go. Make it big so we can all see it. Right, league table. As the listeners rightly pointed out, then we were struggling to see that we have 1, 3 in our 4. If you look at that form table there, Tim, the league table looks a lot better, doesn't it? With Blackpool in 12th position on 13 points.
It does. If I looked slightly distracted, I was just getting up the games we've got in November and December. And obviously after we've got Eastbourne and Leeds United on the 21s out of the way, we've got Peterborough, who are on a real rich vein of form, aren't they? I think all our pre-season expectations for them are proving well-founded. Then we've got Doncaster, who are slightly above us. Then we've got Portsmouth. Then we've got Fleetwood, who I think lost tonight. Oxford. Then Hull, Aki, and Sunderland. So there's probably, if you take, there's a couple of, there's Oxford obviously are still down there, aren't they? Although they've played slightly less games than everybody else. I still think they might come good personally, but that we're looking for points there, hopefully. And we've got to be looking for points against the Cods, haven't we? And Aki, they're the 3 ones that we've got some, a real expectation in. The others, we're looking, hopefully we can pick up some points, but I do worry about how we'll do in some of those games.
I've actually written to Darren McAntony today to see if he'll come on our preview show for the Peterborough games. Fingers crossed for that. Does anyone listen to his podcast? I think it's not out long.
You want to get that tosser on from Talk Sport?
Who?
He's a posh. What's he called? Yeah. Adrian Durham. That's the
yes. I think he's a bit of a dick. But yeah, it's called The Hard Truth. Darren McAntony's podcast. It's quite funny. He's quite a funny guy. So I think it'd be a good guess. So hopefully he's up for it. He's very sweary as well, which I like. Nick, league table thoughts?
Well, it's looking a lot better, isn't it? It's amazing what a couple of wins does, and we're heading in the right direction. 12th place, 3 wins out of 5, and it's looking a bit rosier, even though we have played teams at the bottom. So yeah, certainly heading in the right direction. I mean, what are we off the playoffs? I mean, it's still very, very early days, isn't it? What are we now?
8 points.
Yeah, no problem. We'll be there in 3 games.
Yeah, Fleetwood were 2-0 down, got it back to 2-2 within a minute, and they've ended up losing. You'd expect them to go on and win the game there, but they've lost 3-2. So there's only 3 points between us and them. We're always very tight together, aren't we?
Mm.
Yeah, a long, long way to go, isn't there? So
yeah, maybe we should. We did the prediction league when we get to 12 games, that's a quarter of the way through, isn't it? Is that right? A quarter of the way through? Yeah, it is, isn't it? So we'll see maybe where we are as a collective. But it looks...
Yeah, it'll be a fun thing to do.
We're not a million miles away looking at this, really, are we?
Apart from our own team.
Well, yeah, that side.
We were maybe being a bit...
Never predict what we do.
Weren't we?
Where's my wild card crew? What do they do tonight? Oh,
near the bottom, John, as I predicted.
Yeah,
they would be.
8 teams.
Oxford there, 21st day. I don't think they played tonight, did they?
No, I don't think any of us
Yeah,
have
no,
that.
they beat Rochdale, I think. Or was that? Yeah, I think that was today.
Oh, they've won tonight, yeah, okay. I think we all had Wigan, Burton and Northampton down there, didn't we?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think Wimbledon and
Probably Lincoln are the surprise package, really, aren't they? I think near the top. And then I think that everything else is pretty much as we thought. I think, I think obviously there's always variations, but I think, the teams we expected to see at the top, bar Lincoln and us, are the ones that were there.
Mm. Right, just before we sign off, what have we got coming up? Next up on the Seasiders podcast, I was discussing with Sam today what to do with the forthcoming Eastbourne game, because it's on Sunday, isn't it? Eastbourne in the FA Cup on Sunday. As it's not a traditional Friday night preview, I was thinking we may do a show where we do a step back in time and think of FA Cup first rounds in days gone by. It might be quite a fun thing to do because we've had some absolute shockers, haven't we?
I was going to say, we're on a bit of an upward trajectory at the moment. We're all happy. Do we really need to depress ourselves, remembering getting dicked by non-league teams and stuff?
The laughs already, Nick, make it worthwhile.
Yeah, why not?
The town, relive Altrincham away. And can anyone think of any others?
Kidderminster, did we play Kidderminster? We lose to them?
Yeah.
Hensford.
Hennisford Town,
yeah.
I think Yeovil when they were non-league.
Did anybody go to Bishop Auckland away?
They get battered at Bishop Auckland away.
Yeah, that was a naughty afternoon.
Yeah, I do. So yeah, listeners, viewers, whatever, we're probably doing that this weekend. Just check our social feeds anyway, just to get clarification on this, to see if we are going to be doing that. We'll see what we can dig out anyway. Right, just before we go, if you're on YouTube and watching this, please subscribe, like this, and subscribe to the show, because we want to hit 500 before the new year's out. If we do get to 1,000, we can do a lot more things on this channel, so do help us out as a way of saying thanks for the content. And on that note, we'll just bring the little music in. So, yeah, we'll see you, listeners, viewers, etc., on Saturday, if not directly after the game, for the normal 6:06 match reaction show. So, thanks for joining us, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Matt.
No problem, mate.
And all remains to be said is thanks for downloading, thanks for watching, and thanks for interacting. And up the pool.
Up the pool.
Up the pool.
Ollie's already changed the world. Small town from the north of England, with a great tradition.
Right, everybody, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next pod. Just one more thing before we go. As you can see from that little tick at the bottom, saying support our content and get extra stuff by joining our Patreon supporter program. That's a way you can subscribe to our show and help pay for our production costs and say thanks. If you go to patreon.com/Seasiderspod, you do get bonus content and extra bits and pieces, like our private WhatsApp group with all the patrons on it and us. So we have a bit of a laugh on there, so that's worth doing. You're getting access to all the back catalogue of the old podcasts. For example, today I pushed out a show when Ian Holloway left the building. That was 8 years ago today when I left. So you get things like that as well. So, yeah. Head on over to patreon.com/Seasiderspod, and we'll speak to you or see you on the next show. Thanks, everybody, for your comments tonight. Really appreciated. It really makes the show better. Cheers, and I'll speak to you later.